Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wednesday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. 2022 edition of studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. Doing actually a rebroadcast here. Our previous broadcast was kind of glitchy, so I turned the bandwidth up, and here we are. So there's a lot going on. Our opposition has turned it up to like 12 or 13 at this point. Today, in just what I saw, I'm sure I didn't see everything, I saw at least 3 pieces that were lodged against us again today by people like David from the Atlantic and, was the Atlantic? Anyways, CNN maybe. It's all becoming a blur of activity, frenetic activity against us by the student loan swamp. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments, if you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook, I am more than happy to respond to them in stream. So, but yeah, guys, we are being hit hard right now. And I know it probably for most people, it's very discouraging. For me, however, it's actually quite encouraging. Our opposition is scared right now. They don't know what to do. Nobody in Washington, D.C. has any clue what to do about this failed lending system. The lending system has failed, ladies and gentlemen. Before this pandemic, 64.3% of everyone, that's nearly 2/3 of all borrowers, were not making payments on their loans. And that is only going to increase. Like today, almost nobody's paying. And I would be stunned at this point if even 20% of the borrowers ever resumed paying on their loans. People are done. They're done. And the longer they wait to try and turn this lending system back on, the worse that's going to get. Rigor mortis is setting in to the dying body of this failed student loan beast. So we got this, guys. This lending system is dead. It's a dead man walking. It's going away. You know, the subprime home mortgage default rate was 20%. And by my best estimates, the default rate for everybody walking around with student loans, even before the pandemic, was going to be way over 50%. It was going to be, my best guess is probably 70%. And that's before the pandemic. So come on, guys. We are in never land for the federal student loan program. It has failed. It's done. It's toast by all rational metrics. As I said, the default rate for subprime mortgages was 20%. We are way over triple that here now. I mean, I don't know what other data I can point you to. I can point you to a million pieces of data, but I'm just going to suffice it to say, leave it there at that for now. So all of these pieces that we're seeing against us, I think it's going to backfire on people. And here's one very interesting piece of evidence I have for that. So like Bill Cassidy, senator from Louisiana, he and a lot of the politicians are doing this today. Republican politicians, by the way. We're a nonpartisan group, by the way. We're nonpartisan. But I have to say, Republican politicians like Virginia Fox of North Carolina, and Richard Burr, and this guy, Bill Cassidy in Louisiana, Tom Cotton in Arkansas, many others, not that many, but quite a few others. They're posting stuff on Facebook that's like, canceling student loans will benefit the wealthy. And first of all, that's a lie, and it's a provable lie. And if you go to bit.ly/won't-help-rich, you'll see why that's true. It's completely nonsense. It's easily disproven. But nonetheless, they're saying that. But if you look at the comments below these Facebook posts, where maybe 5 or 10 years ago, like 9 out of 10 of those comments would have been from people who agreed with that sentiment, today, you look at the comments under those, and it's probably about 8-2 in our favor. So, guys, people are finally starting to speak out, and I could not be more glad. We've been doing this for 17 years now, And we were the lone voice in the wilderness way back in the day. Let me tell you, it was a very lonely place to be. Now here today, the large majority of all student loan borrowers are done. They're finished. They're through. They will not be paying on their loans anymore. The lending system is done. And so we got this, guys. We got this. And there's no amount of media that our opposition can generate that will make that not true. They're not going to spin this failed lending system back into life. They're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So, but having said that, we've still got a fight on our hands. Make no mistake. The lending system's done, but this could go a couple ways. We could get a good, clean, quick death to this thing, which starts by returning the threat of bankruptcy protections, by the way. Very important point. But we could also see a very long, years long maybe, unwinding. And that could be very terrible. It could be ugly. It could get brutal. It could be civilly and socially unrestful. We don't want that long, languishing unwinding to this lending system. We want the good, clean, quick death that stimulates the economy, that allows us to move on with our lives and not spend one more effing day under the blanket of this disgusting, failed, predatory debt. We don't want that. We want these loans gone so that we can move on with our lives. And I hope you agree with me. I think you probably do. So, and that doesn't mean that we can sit back and wait for everything to work for us. No, exactly the opposite. Our opposition, there's not many of them, but they're strong and they have great connects with the media, particularly the financial media, with these swamp rags like Forbes magazine and Yahoo Finance, and even more recently, the Boston Globe and the Atlantic, believe it or not. It's sad. It's quite frankly, it's hard to watch, but we've got to respond, guys. These are your loans and this is your problem. This is your livelihood on the block here. And if we've learned nothing else over the 17 years of doing this, it's that when everybody out there thinks that somebody else is going to pull their weight for them, it never happens. So the most important thing I'm going to say tonight, please go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. Do at least a week worth of our daily actions. I know it seems small and it's very simple to do. It's like mostly Twitter stuff. Got to have a Twitter account. I hate Twitter, but Twitter's pretty helpful. Got to have a Twitter account. Do a week's worth of our daily actions. You can probably do a week worth, mostly Twitter stuff, in probably less than 15 minutes. You could probably do a month's worth in around a half an hour, 45 minutes. Once you get going, it's very quick. It's like retweet this, retweet that. Seems trivial, but it's not, ladies and gentlemen. This group, we are the tip of the spear in this fight. We are the pioneers, and we've got a massive muscle to flex right now. We've got like 1.1 million signatures on our petition now. We've got a couple 100,000 people across our other platforms. We've got a very strong muscle to flex, but at the same time, I have to be honest with you. On any given day, I don't see more than about 1,000 people or so doing anything, doing these daily actions, for example. That's not going to get it done, guys. You can't sit back and wait and watch and worry and read Forbes magazine and do nothing and expect that this problem is going to get solved and the solution is going to fall in your lap. It's never worked that way, never will. So you have to own this problem, guys. I don't know how more plainly I can say it. We need your help. You need everyone to help. Therefore, you need to help. It comes back to you. It always has. It always will. You have no idea how important you are. And as long as you sit back and do nothing, quite frankly, if you're not doing anything, and all the people I see here on the group tonight are doing stuff, Aaron and Yolanda and Jane and Kyle and Ed, they know, and they know that I salute them, and we all salute each other because we know we're the pioneers and we've been making the efforts. If you haven't been, then I'd say shame on you, or maybe you're new to the group, but I would say then get it done. Start by doing at least a week, if not a month, if not 3 months worth of our daily actions. That's the best thing you can do. going to our Medium site and reading the top like 5, 6, 7 articles there, which you can see right there. Take some time, read those articles. They're quick. They're just normal articles, like magazine style articles. They will make you a very effective student loan justice warrior. And we need you to be smart, because it's very easy to swat down the opposition if you know what's in those articles. If you don't read those articles, you'll never know. And you'll wind up losing heart, and you'll be made to look bad in, Twitter wars and stuff like that. No good reason. This is an argument very easily won. So hang in there, guys. We got this. I see we have quite a few comments here. Ed, our fearless co-leader, says, build back self-worth by taking action. Student loan action is good for you. I agree completely, Ed. It feels good to fight this fight. I'm not going to lie to you. It's cathartic. It feels good. We are teaching people who don't know the truth about this predatory, unconstitutional lending system. People out there just don't know, for example, that older people now outnumber younger people with student loans, and they owe far more. Almost nobody knows that. And they would never know that unless they read our Medium article. We broke that research, and almost nobody in the media has really broken it yet. Stuff like that. People just don't know it, and they need to know. And the only way they will know is if you tell them. And when you tell them that and they go, oh, no way, no, then just shove one of our articles in their face, and then they'll read it. And chances are they'll be like, wow, I did not know that. Thanks for the information. That feels good. It's cathartic. It's far better than sitting around stewing in your own juices, afraid to tell even your friends, family, wife, husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends, children about your student loan debt and suffering in silence. That's stupid. That's bad for you. It's much better for you to get out there and help us fight. I kid you not. We have the high road on this, guys. We have the Constitution on our side. We have the founding fathers on our side. We've got 45 million people who should and would be on our side if they knew about us. And there's tens or even hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps. And they don't deserve to be conquered and enslaved by this debt. So just remember that. Hey, Tiffany Klein says, oh, wait, hold on. Let me look at the big picture. Yeah, right now, if you read all the articles out there, you're like, oh, there's no way we're going to get any forgiveness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, don't call it forgiveness. It's cancellation. Second of all, the loans will not be paid. The loans will be canceled. Now, whether that happens decades from now because of the death of the borrower, or 5 years from now when finally it just falls apart, or whether it happens before this coming November, that remains to be seen. We want that third thing. We want these loans gone right now. And honestly, just the sheer volume of these oppositional pieces, I think most people are starting to kind of catch a whiff, and they're starting to go, wow, how come all of a sudden I'm seeing that student loan cancellation will benefit the wealthy every time I open my eyes? What's going on here? Am I being spun? I think I'm being spun. I think this is what they're talking about when they talk about the media elite and programming and all that kind of stuff. People aren't stupid, guys. They can tell. So we got this. Don't think for a minute that we don't. We do. But we've got to fight. We've got to fight. And we need your help. So we've got
you need help.
Bunch of comments here.
Comes back to you.
Let me start at the top. Jane Swachenko, how are you, Jane? Says, I am seeing a huge change of mind, a huge change in the mindset of even staunch conservatives on Twitter. I had several very effective back and forths today. You're right. The chart, graphs, empirical evidence, quantitative evidence says it all. Well, good, Jane. I'm glad. As I said, we've broken a ton of stories and you can see all the headlines for yourself in Medium. Chances are you don't know this stuff. It's jaw-dropping stuff. Older people outnumber younger people. The worst 10 states are all southern states. Over a third of U.S. states, student loan debt now exceeds their entire state budget. Before the pandemic, more than half of everybody was not paying. And I think I already said that, but yeah, stuff like that. Those are very important facts that people need to realize. Also, inflation. Student loan cancellation will not cause inflation. It's nonsense. Student loan cancellation will return on average $400 per month to the average borrower, but inflation will on average add $500 a month to the average household's expenses. 2.5 people average household. So canceling student loans is not going to cause inflation. It'll barely allow people to maintain their current standard of living. Oh, that went way too quick. Okay. Got a ton of comments. If I can't get through them all tonight, guys, I'm sorry, but I will try. Aaron Root says, yes, yep, Cardona's reaching in desperation with ridiculous distraction and avoidance tactics. I know they're stringing us along, Aaron, aren't they? They're trying to make it through the next election. They're going to try and frame the next election that, like right before the election, they're going to do something that's going to sound major, but we won't find out until after the election that it actually wasn't major. So Biden may, right before November 8th, stand up and go, I'm going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans. And I'd love to do more after the election. So vote for Democrats. That's what we're going to see. And I suppose they hope that everybody will then vote for the Democrats. They will somehow maintain their power in the House and the Senate. And then they can continue to screw with us for some more longer time. I don't think that's going to work for the Democrats, guys. I think they need to do what they said they were going to do before November 8th. I don't think people are going to put up with Democrats' bullshit any longer. Pardon my French. By the way, we are a fiercely nonpartisan group. We don't like the Democrats. We pretty much hate the Republicans. We only care about student loan justice, and we have been smashed in between the partisan divide for way too long. And this nonsense, fake narratives that are being thrown into the zeitgeist right now are the swamp, trying to keep this charade going. Hey, Yolanda Franklin, looks like she posted maybe an article. What is that? Oh yeah, CNBC thing. 8 attorney. Oh yeah, that's actually kind of a good point. 8 attorneys general. This is breaking news today. 8 attorneys general called on the president to cancel every penny of federal student loan debt. I love that. That's great. The only problem, and that's a good thing, but the only problem is that all 8 of those attorney generals were Democrats. And as I said, we're a nonpartisan group. I hate to see this problem become a partisan nonsense thing. This should not be a partisan problem. Another important unreported fact that you will see in our Medium article. The majority of student loan borrowers are, believe it or not, either Republican or independent. The worst, and you can see that in our Medium article, it's true. You wouldn't think it was true, but it's true. These are not liberal young snowflakes carrying this debt. These are typically older people who tend to be either Republican or independent. A lot of Democrats, obviously. There's more Democrats than Republicans, but this independent middle ground sways the majority to the Republican/independent. So this is not a partisan problem, is my point. And the governors of Florida and Texas and Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Louisiana, Texas, did I say? And all the ones I didn't mention, Mississippi, did I say Georgia? All of those states are wrecked by federal student loan debt. All of the governors of those states should be standing up and telling Biden to cancel these freaking ridiculous federal student loans. I mean, look at Texas. What would happen if we ripped $141 billion out of the wallets of the mostly Republican or independent student loan borrowers in Texas and sent that money mostly to Washington, D.C.? It would ruin the state of Texas. So we're glad to see that. But, you know, we focus most of our attention on Republicans, guys. We just do, because that is where this battle is won. Check us out on Fox News like 3 weeks ago, April 8th, I think, with Dana Perino. You can see it on our website, studentloanjustice.org. I think it's at the very top of the media list. That's where we need to be, guys. We like to go into the lion's den when we can convince conservatives as was just alluded to by Jane, that's game over. We win, guys. Truly. So I'm glad to see the AG thing, but I'd much rather see some Republican governors doing that. Aaron Root agrees. Huge change in tide direction in our favor. Yeah, guys, I'm telling you guys, we got this. We have this. No matter what the financial media and the corporate media, the swamp media, whatever they say, fuck those people. They don't own the loans. We do. We're the people. And we're done. And remember that. And tell everyone you know about this group. Because we are the tip of the spear in this battle. I kid you not. We are the eye of the storm. We would not have good bankruptcy legislation to fight for, but for the people on this group. We would probably not be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for the petition that we started in March 2020, way before almost anyone was talking about student loan cancellation by executive order. So Jane says, not easy on the over 60s, over 70s either. I have half a mind to just die on them. Oh, come on. We need you fighting with us, Jane. I would like nothing more than for people, particularly the seniors on our group, which I am one, by the way. I'm over 50. I would like nothing better than to see these loans gone before we lose even another member to old age. And I think that's something worth fighting for. Ed McKinley says, build back self-worth by taking action. Student loan action is good for you. And it is. It's cathartic. We're teaching people things they don't know and they need to know. That is a constructive, helpful thing to do. Don't ever forget that. Tiffany says, it's been in the news so much. Yeah, Tiffany, I'm telling you, I am overwhelmed beyond belief. I can't even respond to all the media pieces these days. There's like 3 to 4 articles written every day against us. And like when we first started Student Loan Justice, we might see 1 article about student loans a month. So it's just, I almost feel like at the end of the Matrix, the first thing in the Matrix where when Neo finally figures it out and he's looking at his hand, and he's like, oh, bullet. That's kind of what I feel like right now. It's like, there's nothing more they can throw at us. We got this. And so yeah, I am supremely confident, guys. We got this. But we have to fight. You have to help us. Hey, Jane said, Jane already said that. All right. So Ed says again, build. Oh, yeah. So that. Tiffany said that. Charlene Odom, how are you doing, Charlene? If we can give money to other countries, we can cancel the student loan debt for our own people, right? If we can and we try not to talk about other issues like immigration or any of that kind of stuff. We're a nonpartisan group. We only talk about student loans. But having said that, if we can throw trillions of dollars into the deserts of the Mideast, I think we can probably find a way to cancel student loan debt. And what you say as well, Charlene, this country spends a lot of money. And unlike all the spending that we saw during this stimulus or during this pandemic, the trillions of dollars in PPP loans that we threw out, trillions of dollars in, direct payments to people, trillions of dollars in giveaways to the rich, all federally owned student loans, 90% of all student loan debt, can be canceled without needing 1 dime from the Treasury and without adding even 1 penny to the national debt. So this is beyond a no-brainer, Charlene. Quite frankly, it's, in my humble opinion, I'll be astounded if even 15 or maybe even 10% of everybody simply never pay again. And frankly, in my humble opinion, it is both unwise and unpatriotic to ever pay another one of your good dollars into this bad lending scam. Lending systems fail from time to time, ladies and gentlemen. It happens. Look at subprimes. We're way beyond subprimes. Look at the SNL scandal back in the 80s. Look at all of Europe, both Western and Eastern Europe in 1945. I think not only did entire lending systems fail, I think entire economic systems failed then. It happens. And it's not our fault, the borrowers, we are as irresponsible or as responsible as we've ever been generally and roughly. Quite frankly, I think people tend to be maybe a little more responsible today than they were 50 years ago. But we really haven't changed that much. What has changed is this lending system. This lending system is weaponized against us, and you should feel no moral imperative to pay on these loans. In fact, I say, my humble opinion, don't feed the beast. Why would you do that? I know everybody's going to make their own decisions, and whatever you are doing or will do, you're more than welcome in this group. As long as you're here fighting with us, doing the hard work necessary, going to our website and doing our daily actions at a very minimum. As long as you're doing that, you're very welcome here on this group right there, daily actions. But thank you for that, Charlene. That's a great point. Oh yeah, somebody stole my photo and on Twitter and is now pretending to be me. That happens. There's quite a few assholes on Twitter, I've noticed. But whatever, I really don't care. Easily blocked. Tiffany says they're kicking the can down around and stalling. They know they have to do something now. Yeah, both the Republicans and the Democrats are playing with fire. The Democrats, they risk losing everything if they don't do something very big before November. Like, quite frankly, if they want to hold power, I kind of think they have to cancel all of the loans. Really, honestly, I think that's what they're going to need to do to win our trust back. The Republicans, on the other hand, they also stand to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. If they continue to wag their fingers at us, and by us, I mean their own constituents. I mean their own constituents who voted for them. If they continue to rub our nose in shit like they are, pardon my French, we could see a replay of last election where Georgia, which is the worst state in the country on student loan debt, could barely be eked out by the Democrats again. That could happen. And we don't talk about other issues, anything substantial, but with the Roe v. Wade issue now upon us, I think that's only going to light a fire under the Democrats. So I think the race in November is going to be much closer than it would have been otherwise. So I don't think the Republicans can go around measuring the drapes or anything, popping champagne corks. And guys, we are going to decide this election. Another interesting unreported fact. We are the largest untethered voting bloc politically in U.S. history. We have nearly 55 or 60 million student loan borrowers in the country. 80% of them were screwed on their student loans before the pandemic. So we're talking way over 40 million distressed student loan voters. That's nearly enough to elect a president outright. We will determine the elections in close states like Michigan and Georgia and Pennsylvania and other states. You get my point. And you can see an article at our Medium website which spells that out very clearly. And I wish you would spread that article around as well. So, yeah, $10,000 forgiveness won't do anything. Nothing all in forgiveness. Yeah, $10,000 is a joke, Tiffany. Up to $50,000 is a trick, by the way. Up to could mean anything. And every lawyer in Washington, D.C. knows. And anybody who's been watching the Department of Education with any clarity like I have will tell you that up to $50,000 will come to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. And absolutely nothing for many if the Department of Education has its way. We're not doing 10,000. We're not doing up to 50,000. Cancel the loans. Bankruptcy must be returned to the loans first, though. There's a lot of loans that can't be canceled administratively. And guys, as a political matter, unless we have the threat of, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say tonight, unless we have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, while few people, maybe even no one, should actually have to file, unless we get the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side, I don't think we're going to see meaningful student loan cancellation. I just don't see it. So go to our website, do at least a month worth of our daily actions. S-2598 is the bill that will return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. It's in a very precarious place right now. We've got to fight for this bill almost everything probably rests on it. Go to our website, do our daily actions, please. Do more than that. Do way more than that. You're smart. You've been to college, and you're not better than us, by the way. You need to get your knuckles dirty just like we are. You need to be in this fight. You need to jump in. The water is fine. And you can't sit back and wait and watch and worry and hope that somebody else pulls your weight for you. Never happens. Never happens. Starts with you. And if you're not going to do anything, then just get off the group. I'm tired of even thinking about you. Just leave. We don't need you here. Ed, when I get angry and depressed, this fight helps me stay on track. Not a fight I wanted, but here it is, right? We're all accidental activists, guys. I'm an accidental activist. Ed, our supreme co-leader, is an accidental activist. But you know, this fight definitely gets me out of bed in the morning. And it's a fight worth fighting. We're fighting the good fight. And I sleep like a baby at night. So Tiffany says, I love when people bring up student loans and get mad about forgiveness. It gives me a chance to educate them. Right, Tiffany. I look at it exactly the same way. And there's a whole bunch of things you can say, but I'm going to save my breath for now because we're running out of time. But suffice it to say, we can answer every single one of the tough questions. In general, the people who wag their fingers, they consider themselves to be conservative. And I like to say, shame on you. You are fighting for the worst big government, red state wrecking, veteran wrecking, lending scam in the history of our country. It's even socialistic if you really think about it, and it benefits the colleges. So conservatives claim to hate all of those things. Say shame on you. I often ask them, are the colleges paying you? If they're not, they should be. And if they're not, then you ought to be ashamed because you're working for them for free. You are a cheap date, my friend. Now turn in your conservative card. Shame on you. Hey, Denise, says we need a live interview with about 6 people and former students. Do a video. Yeah, go ahead. Organize it, Denise. It's your idea. I nominate you. Go for it. Yeah, if we can help you with that, I'd love to help with that. Sounds like a good idea. Hey, Doug Grossfin says you can't feel ashamed about something that is not your fault. I finally put everything on my Facebook feed and now have many classmates that have come to read, learn, and believe and no longer are living in the shadows. Good for you, Doug. I salute you. You know, I was out of the closet on this thing in 2005 and it was tough back then. But now I feel perfectly fine. And yeah, there's always going to be some people going, you know, you borrow money, you got to pay it back. And I will very happily talk to them and say, look, buddy, let me introduce you to Vanjie, right? Vanjie borrowed $26,000. She has repaid $92,000 on this $26,000 loan. She still owes $132,000 on this $26,000 loan. You're telling me that people should pay their money into this lending scam? Shame on you. And if they're honest, they'll come around to agreeing with you. And if they're friends, the chances are they will go along with you. But you have to make the argument. You can't walk around with your tail in between your legs your whole entire life because you got conned by an unconstitutional, predatory lending scam. You can't do that. Yeah, there's no good reason to do that. Why would you do that? I mean, it's not pleasant to admit that you got scammed, but you know, sitting around wallowing in silence, afraid to tell even your wife and husband and so forth, that helps nobody. That's probably going to lead you to an early demise from stress. Don't do that. Aaron Root says 1.9 trillion for 5 or 6 billion original loans. That's a lot of interest. I don't think it's quite that stark, Aaron, but you raise a good point. Of the $1.6 trillion in outstanding federal student loan debt, my best estimate, and nobody knows what this number is, but my best estimate is that only maybe, I don't know, 300 billion, like a fifth of that is actual unpaid principal. The large majority of that 1.6 trillion is nonsense. It's interest and penalties and fees and compounded interest on all of that nonsense. So Jane says it's unreal stuff. Those southern states, I throw the Bible and you should throw the Bible at them. Why wouldn't you? You know, Jesus kicked the money changers out of the temple. Back in the Old Testament, Leviticus, used to be a jubilee every 7 years where all debts were forgiven. Last year was a big 50-year jubilee year, by the way. But I'm not a preacher, guys. But yeah, everybody should be on our side. Everyone, truly. Ishmael. Oh, hold on. Sorry, Ishmael, I'll get to you in a minute. Sarah Dardick says, I have been one consistent thread in all the opposite pieces. Loads of misinformation. They are chock full of lies, guys. Lies. And I don't have time tonight, but we can knock down every single one of those lies. And in fact, we have a bit.ly link for every one of the lies that they tell, where you just throw that in their face and it very quickly answers that lie with the truth. And all the stuff that all the research we do, by the way, is the best data available. It's almost always exclusively Department of Education data. We don't even do Federal Reserve data because that data is crap. And there's a lot of crap data out there. The bad guys use that crap data to make crap statements that are easily disproven. So our stuff is good. We are extremely careful with our research, and we have always been. We've broken news on 60 Minutes, in the Chronicle of Higher Education, the Wall Street Journal, in the New York Times, Inside Higher Ed, many other places. We do not screw around with our research. We are extremely conservative and careful. So when I tell you that canceling student loans will largely benefit the unwealthy, you can take that to the bank. But it's a good point, Sarah. It's just, it's like, how much bullshit can you throw at a problem and actually win? I don't know. In my humble opinion, the truth rises to the top, and we're seeing that everywhere because everybody out there who has student loans has seen this nasty beast from the pointy end of the stick, and they are just now, finally starting to step up and speak out. And good. We've been waiting for that for a long time. Tiffany says, someone told my mom the other day people shouldn't get them canceled because it'll just keep us sitting in our parents' basement living off the government. It's completely nonsense. We're not kids. Most of us are over 35. People over 50 outnumber people under 25. All that stuff I said before. And we're not liberals, and we're not liberal elitists. Liberal elitists do not get student loans. Wealthy people do not get student loans. And shame on everybody out there for allowing themselves to be hypnotized and believing that everybody with student loans is a bunch of young, dumb, gender studies, liberal, snowflake people. Shame on them. That's a bad reflection on them. So Jane says, I told the Biden people that I don't care if the Republicans promise to strike Roe v. Wade in all 50 states. They ain't getting my vote. Well, you heard it there first. We don't talk about other issues. We don't do it. You will never hear us weigh in on almost any other issue. Although other spending issues, sometimes we like to compare. Like PPP loans, for example. The large majority of all PPP loans went to the highest 20% of earners. Most, like 75% of PPP loans went to people earning over $100,000 a year. According to the Federal Reserve, and I don't even believe this, according to the Federal Reserve, student loans, the highest 20% income bracket holds 30% of student loans compared to 75% for PPP loans. I don't believe that, though. That's very dubious, dicey data. The Federal Reserve has very dubious voluntary survey data where financially stable people who are doing great on their student loans are far more likely to answer those surveys than are poorer, struggling borrowers. So I don't think that people making over $100,000 a year hold 30% of student loan debt. I think it's probably something like half that amount. Ed says, I forgave myself for thinking I somehow did this to myself. That's the only forgiveness I needed. Yeah, guys, Don't feel guilty about this. This thing happened to us. This is not a bad borrower problem. This is a bad lending system. And really, the sad thing is that we've had to fight this hard for so long. It's the largest economic injustice in modern American history, in my opinion. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. We've gone way too long. So, Ishmael, last comment. We are the people, and we are tired indeed. Isn't it fair? Because they get their campaign money from the student loan servicers. Yeah. You know, money's not going to win this one for them, guys. There's no amount of money that they or we could spend to buy the outcome of this one. The lending system's done. It's toast. Don't forget that. You know, I'm seeing so many comments, guys. I just can't do it. We're going to have to hit this up again. Ed will be back tomorrow. I will be back on Friday. Go to our website. Do at least a week, if not a month, worth of our daily actions. I'll see you on Friday. Get that done. We need you. You have no idea how important you are. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody.